Can Jordan Love and the Packers stay in the NFC North race? Packers versus Saints, Week 16 NFL preview. Ladies and gentlemen, in the backdrop, Pro Football Focus, PFF. Today, we're going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints versus the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football, 2 days before Christmas, a Christmas gift, ladies and gentlemen. As of right now, by the way, I plan on streaming the game. So if you are checking out the channel, if you're watching, why not watch it with your boy? We do this for the Chiefs games, a lot of fun. So make sure you are checking my Twitter and YouTube and stuff like that. I'll post more leading up to it, but I just wanted to throw that out there. As of right now, I am planning on streaming the entire game live with each and every one of you. Okay, let's get to this. So Saints Packers, as of right now, it looks like Spencer Rattler starting. Alvin Kamara is not going to play, which means it'll be Kendra Miller, Jamal Williams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that's it against the Green Bay Packers in a game the Packers must win on the road in icy cold Green Bay. Now, I'm filming this on a Friday, so I'm not going to try to make any weather forecasts. Weather changes too drastically for me to try and tell you what the temperature or what the elements are going to be like, but really tough spot for the Saints, obviously. Really tough. Green Bay is a very good team. The Saints are bubblegum and shoestring right now. They're playing hard, but at the end of the day, it is backups, it's fifth rounder rookies, it's practice squad players, it's players that were literally not on the team 4 days ago. It's a lot of moving pieces. Okay, so to come out here and say the Saints are going to win this game would be insane. But let's go ahead and talk about the game.
Saints starting Spencer Rattler in this game. Actually,
are they? Is that for sure?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know. Yes. I actually don't know if that's 100% for sure.
Good start, guys. Newsflash, it is WTF. Why? I don't know if they're doing this live, and I hate to speak ill of other channels, but if they're not doing this live, why wouldn't they just say, you know what, we're 11 seconds in, let's go figure out who the starting quarterbacks of the game we're previewing are, and then we'll come back and we'll restart this thing. Can we get a depth chart? Can we check a Twitter? What are we doing, guys? I mean, this is some shocking stuff. And I was just listening. I just saw a clip of Jason McIntyre saying that the Giants should move on from Daniel Jones in the offseason. Brother, he's in Minnesota, so I just don't know. I don't know, man.
I'll look it up when you give me your matchup that matters. What do you got here for Monday night?
Matchup that matters. Who the starting quarterback is.
I had Spencer Rattler question mark as my plus factor, just like it. But no, my matchup that matters is Josh Jacobs versus the New Orleans run defense. Josh Jacobs leads the league in yards after contact with 974. He leads the league in missed tackles forced in the...
Okay, she is correct on this. Josh Jacobs, I'll tell you right now, Matt LaFleur is going to dare the Saints to stop the run. It's that easy. He's going to roll up in there, and he's going to say, I'm about to run it 20 straight times. Prove to me that I won't get 5 yards a carry. And if the Saints fail to do that, if the Saints do not find a way to stop Josh Jacobs, Matt LaFleur will absolutely continue to run the ball. So, spoiler alert, go ahead and take all of Josh Jacobs' props over. If you want a free money ATM, Josh Jacobs rushing attempts, Josh Jacobs yards, Josh Jacobs longest rush, Josh Jacobs first carry over 3.5 yards, and Josh Jacobs touchdowns, why not 2? That's going to be the question. Now, the Saints' run defense was good against Washington. This is a different animal, no doubt about it, but that'll absolutely be the first test.
The run, which is 65, and New Orleans ranks 15th in missed tackles this season with 63. So that's the way that Josh Jacobs and the way this run scheme in Green Bay operates, is devoid of tendencies since their bye week. That's the biggest thing about it, where it's so multiple and they don't do the same thing every single week.
Yeah, Matt LaFleur is
they work
the man.
within a very, very large kind of scheme and don't seem to be bogged down by like, oh, well, we're an inside zone team, we're an outside zone team, we're a gap team. Like, they're doing everything. And it's honestly been the same for the guys up front. Like, it's not that the offensive line is doing anything extraordinarily different. It's just the way that Matt LaFleur is calling the offensive backfield, rather. It's not just Josh Jacobs. It's, you see Jaden Reed back there. You see Dontavian Wicks back there. You see guys that are factoring into Tucker Kraft is taking direct snaps and like all, like, it's just, it's so creative and fun, and Green Bay is just using it to propel their offense. And Jordan Love, in his Toyotathon era, is doing so incredibly well. And does this is now a trend, because last December he did phenomenally. This December
he loves Toyotathon. What do you want to say?
So I like that, coupled with like the Green Bay Packers are just firing on all cylinders, and that's something that is offensively at least, and then even defensively that's starting to hit. But Josh Jacobs versus this New Orleans run defense, I just think is going to be where it kind of starts.
Yeah, you picked Josh Jacobs. I picked the Packers offensive line, but it's the same thing. We're talking about the run game of the Packers versus the run defense of the Saints. Packers 81.8 block.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at DVOA for a second here, ladies and gentlemen. So if we go to DVOA, let's just go to offensive DVOA real quick. Let's go to rush offense, and then we'll check what the Packers are, and then we'll check the defense of the Saints. So the rush offense, Green Bay is 5th. Okay, then if we go to defense, we already know the Saints are 32nd. They may have moved up to like 31st or something, but run defense, the Saints are 30th. Okay, so they moved up after their great performance against the Commanders. So you have the 30th ranked DVOA run defense versus the 5th ranked DVOA rushing offense. So it's never good.
Grade last week, so they were playing very well last week. 37.5 run defense grade for the Saints defensive line since week 9. So again, it is a team that has not fared well when it comes to run defense, not really going in the right direction, versus a team that is playing well, better, knows that they're gearing up for a playoff run here. So the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers just playing very, very solid, and how they're going to fare against the New Orleans Saints when it comes to rushing the football, I think is going to mean a lot. And honestly, with them being at home, I sort of believe in the Saints when it comes to like them playing in the dome, because again, there's all sorts of voodoo that goes on with the New Orleans Saints when they play in New Orleans, and it feels like they can beat anybody. But with this one being in Green Bay,
what have we won 2 games at home this year? Let's see, we'll 3. We did Atlanta, Cleveland, and Carolina. So we got 3 games at home, and then we beat on the road. We beat the Giants, and who am I missing? What am I missing here, ladies and gentlemen? No, Dallas was on the road. Yeah, Dallas was on the road. No, that's right. Yeah, Dallas on the road, Giants on the road, and then the 3 games at home give us 5 wins. Boom.
It's hard to see them not imposing their will against
Cleveland,
the
Atlanta,
Saints defensive
Carolina,
line, because they have done so
New York,
against
Dallas.
most teams in the NFL already. So tough matchup for the Saints there. My plus factor is Kool-Aid McKinstry, because with some of the injuries, obviously the trading of Marshawn Lattimore that the Saints have gone through in the secondary.
I mean, every week it's kind of the same thing with Kool-Aid and Alante. It's like, okay, we need y'all to exist. This is kind of an experiment. As long as the experiment is not a catastrophic failure, then cool beans. Don't let it be a catastrophic failure. Like, that is the whole thing when it comes to our secondary. But yeah, I mean, and that kind of tells you, like, that's why Green Bay is so hard to beat, because Green Bay is like, they will absolutely run the ball 40 times and beat you if you let them. Okay, you stop the run. All right, now you have to stop the pass. And I always, that's what makes a team a good team. If you can win in different ways. If you are just a passing team, if you're just a running team, your ceiling is probably not as high as it could be. If you can beat teams multiple ways, very difficult. And Green Bay proves very difficult challenge in that respect, where they are happy to beat you in whatever way they can.
Kool-Aid has had to step up. 57.7 coverage grade over the last 3 games. Alante Taylor on the other side has struggled. So I've actually got more faith in Kool-Aid McKinstry to be this team's top cornerback than I do anybody else, despite him being a rookie and not getting a ton of playing time until Marshawn Lattimore is traded and until Paulson Adebo went down with that injury. So I liked Kool-Aid McKinstry a good amount when he was coming out of the draft. I feel like he's a very natural when it comes to man coverage, but something that I was worried about with him was acclimating to NFL speeds. And we saw that last week in the touchdown that he gave up. He was sort of in phase with the wide receiver. He was right there with him, but it was like he thought he had more time to catch up and turn his head around and get his hand up. And it just didn't work out like that. Yeah. It's not like he was trailing him very far. It's not like he got totally burnt. He's just not used to that NFL speed and that NFL timing yet. The way in the pace and almost the confidence in which he played when he was at Alabama in those man coverage situations, I loved it. But I figured he was going to get his lumps in the NFL before he learned like, oh, okay, I gotta speed this up a little bit here. So I think he has been playing a little bit better as of late. I know I mentioned that he struggled last week, but his coverage grade not entirely bad since really becoming a regular contributor for them. So to me, he's the ultimate.
Yeah, Kool-Aid's been kind of whatever. I mean, he's been a rookie. He hasn't been a catastrophic failure, but he hasn't been, Sauce Gardner either. So, yeah, he's been okay. I mean, he's thrust into a difficult situation, but I don't want to say mid, but I think he's had a very C year.
Plus factor because you got a lot of weapons that you got to cover in this Packers offense, and I think Kool-Aid McKinstry's got to be able to handle one of them pretty well if the Saints want to have a chance in this one.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the secondary goes, like again, they're going to try and run the ball, but they are going to take shots downfield. We cannot give up those shots downfield, which the Saints are more than capable of giving up those shots. So we do not need to be having penalties down the field or explosive plays down the field, because it's going to be hard enough to contain this offense. We got relatively lucky against the Commanders. There were a couple of deep shots to Terry McLaurin. We're incomplete. Totally different game if those are completed. So we know that's going to happen. We know Jordan Love will take his shots. It's up to Kool-Aid and everyone else to make sure that those do not find success.
So Spencer Rattler, we'll see if he plays all that other stuff.
But Spencer Rattler's going to start.
Yeah. So what I really want to highlight, though, in the plus factor here is that the biggest concern with the Packers as a team up until their bye week was the lack of a pass rush. They were not getting pressure up front. A lot of that was being masked by the fact that you had guys like Xavier McKinney picking the ball off seemingly every other play. He had that streak to start the season where he had an interception a game, all that kind of stuff. You were getting takeaways, and that was masking the issue of just not being able to get any sort of pressure up front or really factor into affecting the quarterback. That has changed dramatically since their bye week. And Jeff Hafley, it's his first year as defensive coordinator. He switched the Packers scheme back to a 3-4 for the first time in 15 years that the Packers are running a 4-3 defense. And the way that manifests with how fluid schemes are these days is the guys that you have available the team was built around a 3-4 defense. So you got guys that are more suited as an outside backer versus a 4-3 D end. And that's why you saw Preston Smith end up, being traded away, all that kind of stuff. Since the bye, the Packers are tied for the most sacks in the league with 16. They are top 10.
All right, remember sacks sometimes are a quarterback stat. So it does also depend who they're playing. Like if they're playing quarterbacks that hold on to the ball, if they're playing quarterbacks who take sacks, like that can inflate a number when you have a small sample size. So factor that in. I have no idea what the schedule's been since the bye, but when you're doing a very small sample size like that, you do have to factor in those kind of variables.
In pressure percentage up front, like it's all really good things that you're now like, all right, everything's starting to work in conjunction with each other now because you're still getting the takeaways, but you're also getting the pressure up front. You're affecting quarterbacks. And that was the biggest concern, and maybe the only concern really with this team.
Just so I know, let's check it. All right, so since the bye week, they've played Chicago, which Caleb Williams is absolutely not afraid to take sacks. I feel like Sam Howell in the Seattle game took a ton of sacks. Let's see if I'm right about that. Because I watched that entire game. Let's see. They had 7 sacks. Yeah, so they had 7 sacks against Sam Howell Okay, so that'll absolutely inflate a number. Let's see. Detroit, good team. Miami, that was in Green Bay. That was a very cold, freezy boy game. That was Thanksgiving. So let's see. Tua doesn't really take sacks. You got 5 in that one. Okay, so 5 sacks in that one. So 12 sacks over the course of those 2 games alone. And then I'm assuming the Chicago game is a lot of sacks just because of how Caleb Williams is. And Brock Purdy will take sacks as well. So let's see here. Only 3 against Caleb Williams. Good job, Caleb. Caleb got rid of the ball in that game. And then San Francisco. Let's see here. They had 2 sacks against Purdy. Okay, so yeah, I mean the Sam Howell and the Tua games are absolutely inflating those since the bye. But yeah, I mean it's always good, like when you hear numbers like that, to go and kind of double check just to see like, okay, is there something that stands out here? And obviously like the Sam Howell 7 sacks in one game will absolutely inflate that.
And now you have the offense, which we just talked about, is incredibly fun. It's incredibly diverse, incredibly multiple. And now you can say the same thing about this defense on the other side of their bye. I just don't know if there's a team that's better at adjusting at their bye week than the Green Bay Packers. I see it every single year with Matt LaFleur. Before their bye and after their bye, there's something drastically different. They do some things drastically more efficiently. There's whatever, like the self-scouting that they're able to do is so impressive. And then they fix it. It's not just that they know what's wrong, it's that they fix it. And that has now been the case too with Jeff Hafley. And I think that's music to Packers fans' ears, given how much they were really concerned, and rightfully so, about the fact that this team was not getting any sort of pressure, but now they are.
Kind of hitting it hard at the right time.
At the right time.
They always do.
Packers
Yeah.
are.
Just like
saying.
last year.
Just
like last
saying.
year. And now they've got that experience. And now I'm like, I really do think, I said this earlier this week on the NFL on Fox podcast, I think that the Packers might be the team that you want to see the least in the playoffs this year.
Packers have a huge problem, and that problem is Philadelphia. Like the idea of like, okay, we're going to run Josh Jacobs. Philadelphia is like, no, you are absolutely not. So, same thing with Jalen Hurts. Like if you're not getting pressure on Jalen Hurts, he's going to eat you up. So the Packers' problem is that they play in the NFC.
Like it's like what to expect with Detroit. Like they're great.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, I feel like doesn't get as much recognition as they deserve. But like what you're getting with the Eagles too. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this Packers team is the quietest, but like the best quietest team. And like I think they're really dangerous. I think they're very dangerous.
They're very good
too. This is a team that is trending in the right direction. If they keep it up over the next 3 games, this will be one of the hottest teams getting into the postseason. No doubt.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers are really, really good. No one's denying that. Saints are going to have their hands full, especially without Kamara. We're going to cover this, obviously, and we'll go into some details on like betting props and things like that as it gets closer to the game. But as far as like the Saints, like what you want to see in this game is you want to see more from Spencer Rattler. You don't want to train wreck. Rattler has a lot of momentum right now. You do not want to see him go up there and have a Jake Haener performance. You don't want to see Rattler go up there and be 9 for 26 for 74 yards and 3 interceptions and a 35-0 blowout. Like, because then that's going to change the perception on everything. It's going to change the perception on Rizzi. It's going to change the perception on Kubiak. It's going to change the perception on Rattler. So you need the team to be competitive, Rattler to be competitive. We need to see Kubiak get the most out of. I mean, man, like can Clint Kubiak catch a break? He's had to do this with 5th-string linemen, practice squad linemen, 3rd-string quarterbacks, 2nd-string quarterbacks. He's had to do this with Bub Means and Mason Tipton. Now he's having to do this with MVS, Cedric Wilson, Dante Pettis. And now it's like, LOL, Alvin Kamara's hurt. So now he's got to try and figure out, how am I going to do this prime time at Green Bay with Kendra Miller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Jamal Williams. Oh, and Spencer Rattler's my starting quarterback. So, man, I mean, you talk about someone who has not got a fair shake. If Clint Kubiak gets anything out of this game offensively, he should be very proud of himself. Defensively, we covered it. I mean, they're going to have to stop the run and then not give up the big play. Let's look at some composite power ratings real quick. So the composite power rating, again, the number on the left is how many points better on a neutral a team is against an average opponent. So the Packers are 5th in the composite, 6.2 points better than an average opponent. The Saints are 5.8 points worse than a average team. They're 26th. So pretty gnarly. I mean, pretty gnarly difference there. Very, very, very. I mean, you're talking about, if you want to do the quick maths, like you're talking about let's just call it 6, and let's call it 6. So this game should be Green Bay minus 12 on a neutral. Green Bay is not neutral. I would give Green Bay the full 2 points for home field advantage, maybe even 2.5 points. Let's just call it 2. So this game should be Green Bay minus 14. Should be the number. And if you go to the odds board, what do you know? It is indeed 14. So that's how you do it. That's how you do the math. Pretty easy when you're checking that kind of stuff out. So 14-point dog, biggest dog on the board this weekend? Yes, by far. Biggest dog on the board this weekend. You know, again, it would be a disservice. Oh, no. We got the Patriots at 14 as well. I got super steamed, though. Went from 11.5 to 14. So, again, it'd be disingenuous for me to come on here and be like, yeah, Saints are going to win this game. I got faith in the boys, baby. We got juice. We got momentum. Rattler times the Rizzler. Merry Rismus, brother. That doesn't work for me, brother. Don't worry, the Saints got it, brother. Like that, y'all don't tune into the channel for all that. So, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass. That's exclusively for my OnlyFans. So, anyways, tough. But if you're sitting here like, well, what am I supposed to look at? Like, what am I supposed to watch? What am I supposed to get excited about? Say it every week, ladies and gentlemen, but the New Orleans Saints have a lot of question marks as far as, who's going to be part of this team, who is going to be part of this future. What do we have in Rizzi? What do we have in Kubiak? What do we have in Rattler? What do we have in Kendra Miller? What do we have in whoever? So evaluate. Have yourself a milk punch, have yourself some eggnog, and get ready. But we will be covering this all weekend long. And like I said, planning on live streaming the game. So that'll be fun. So bookmark that. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I will see you in the next video.